it, but that's the way it goes. We are going to be recording, and so if you have questions, please put them in your chat box. Thanks. The co-op, for me, one of the most beneficial part is being connected to the community and finding all these fascinating, wonderful people in the community. 4 years ago, the co-op started having a monthly potluck and cooking class at St. George's Church. And one of our favorite, all-time favorite chefs was Joy. And she was supposed to be with us in May. However, something happened and we could not have a potluck cooking class. So when I contacted her and asked if she would do it via Zoom, she said, sure. I first met Joy on national TV. She was being interviewed on PBS about why eat local. And she was so excited that I thought anybody that hears Joy would never eat anything but local food. And so that was sort of my introduction to her. And then when I called and asked if she would do some cooking classes, she said, sure. So she was with us last year and thinking she couldn't be with us this year, but she is with us. So Joy is the executive chef and owner of Foodies. And so we have a local treasure here. And so Joy, you take it.
I'll take it. Hi, everybody. My name is Joy Crump, and thank you, Gloria. It's always been really lovely to be neighbors with you. Foodie is located right across the street from the church, St. George's, and then also we're still looking forward to the co-op. And I was just talking to one of my chefs tonight who's super excited to. He's like, I get to bring my own jars and bags and just, you know, pile up on the goodies. And I know it's going to be within walking distance of my house. So any effort to get that awareness out there, I'm always excited to take part in. And I was speaking to Gloria and Richard a couple of weeks ago about sort of what we should focus on for this topic. First of all, let me just say this is very weird. Like Zoom is weird, and I feel you know, connected and also separate at the same time. I think one of the things that might help to mitigate that a little bit is please jump in and ask questions by way of the chat bar at the bottom. And if you hit everyone, then we can all see your questions, and including me, and somebody will prompt me and I'll be able to
That's okay. I can
maybe answer those questions and get you guys to sort of like, we can be doing this thing together. Anyway,
not the only one.
A couple of weeks ago when we were talking about what we were going to do for this class, in air quotes, Richard said, you know, people have questions about vegetables. Like they sort of, they know like one application, maybe two ways to deal with it, or they don't know any at all. And so they pass by it in the grocery store or at the farmer's market. And I said, well, why don't you put those questions out there? Like ask them, what are the ones that are, you know, the noodle scratchers? What are the ones that make people kind of go, what do I do with this? And so he threw that question out to the audience at large a little bit ago and came back with three excellent ones. And we're going to go over those tonight. The first one is okra. And that's awesome because it's in season right now. And it is sometimes a love-hate thing with okra. And the second one is Swiss chard, which is lovely and sometimes associated with fall, but that's okay because we yield them in the summer. We pull them and they're beautiful. And then the third is sweet potatoes, which is like all around one of my most favorite foods to eat, and it's so versatile. So we'll go through all of those, but sort of tonight we're just talking about how should I eat this? What are some different takes that I can use on these different vegetables? So we'll go back to the first one, which is okra. And okra is it thrives in warm climates, sort of kind of like wherever you would think that corn would grow healthily. That's also where okra thrives in the same months. It's kind of a little fuzzy. It almost looks like a jalapeno pepper, but it's fuzzy. It's got a crisp sort of texture. You can tear it open, and then inside, I mean, I don't know if y'all can see this, but inside there's this little viscous stuff that's where the love-hate relationship comes from, right? So some people think they don't like okra because it's slimy. And I can't put it any prettier than that. It does. It has like an interior membrane that is a little bit slimy, and the outside is porous, so it tends to soak up water like a mushroom would. So that's why you don't really wash it. You just rinse it. But so people look for ways to cook okra that's going to mitigate the slime, right? So a lot of times they use like high, fast heat to cook it, which would be deep frying. And that's cool, but it often involves like breading, and it's just like it's very it's not user friendly for home, because who wants to get out the flour and the hot oil and do all that? And then also like it starts to be something else other than this wonderful vegetable, right? Once you turn it into that. So I look for ways to use okra that are easy, that are not intimidating, that won't enhance that that viscous slimy texture, and that also highlight what the vegetable is, which is really it's yummy and it's flavorful and it feels incredibly Southern to me. So today we're doing a dish that is charred okra and corn. So you can do a couple things. I'm gonna turn here. I showed you a piece of okra which is like this, and you can you can't see me right now, but I'll show it to you. You can split it lengthwise and put it on the grill just like that, and that'll char it, and that'll take away some of that slime, and that's very easy. And season it with salt and pepper, a little bit of oil, and you're going to end up with something that's got like a great chew to it, a little bit of a smoky flavor from the grill and the flames. That's excellent. If you don't have a grill though, you can do it at home, and instead of just having it, you can cut it into strips, which is what I did here. And I took, maybe like 10 or 12 okra, and I just cut off the ends. I just cut off the stem end like that. So here's my before with the stem end on that, and there's my after. I cut off the stem end, I cut it into ribbons, and then I take a cast iron skillet, which is right behind me, and I get that super hot. And I don't need to use even a little bit of oil. As a matter of fact, if you put that oil in a super hot pan like that, it will get acrid, it'll quickly burn, it'll usually break down because most of us use olive oil at home, and it becomes really unpleasant. You don't need it. You just use that dry pan, and all we want is the heat of that pan to touch the vegetable, and really quickly, and by quickly I mean within the first 2 or 3 minutes, the okra is just going to dance around in the pan a little bit, and it's going to get a really nice char on it. So I'm going to throw this in the pan. I don't know if you can hear it, probably not. I can't like think of how that's going to work in my head with my earphones on, but it's just a little like sizzle pop, but there's absolutely no, I'm going to try and bring the laptop over here real quick so you can see. Here, can you see it? Wait a minute. What is that? Hang on.
They need to, hey Joy?
Yeah.
Richard needs to stop sharing his screen. Nobody can see you.
Oh, okay. Go for it, Richard. Sorry. I can see me. There you go. Yeah, we can just throw those slides up for a couple seconds. It just sort of help visualize what I'm saying. But I'm here and I'm looking to see what you can see. Okay, there's the okra in the pan, and it's just starting to blacken just a little bit. Okay. So bringing you back over here. So I get the okra in the pan, and it'll take about 4 or 5 minutes. It dances around in there. It gets a little bit of char, a little bit of smoky flavor. And then we do the same thing with corn. We can take the corn off the cob like I did here, or we can take the entire ear of corn and stick it on the grill. And again, you're just getting a little bit of char on it. And what you want is that the sugars that are in the corn are going to start to caramelize, but it happens really quickly because the heat is so intense and hot and high and hot. So I throw my corn in there. Now I've got corn and okra in the pan, and the heat is on incredibly high, and I'm starting to get like a little char. Again, no oil. It's not needed. I'm going to season it with a tiny bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, hopefully you can see me, a little bit of oil, I'm sorry, a little bit of herbs, and I just toss it around. This is, that's a cast iron pan that has a little bit of a non-stick coating on it. So it makes me look genius because nothing's going to stick to it, which is great. A lot of people have seasoned cast iron pans at home too, which does all the work. I see somebody said, what herbs do you add? The answer is whatever you want. I mean, I use parsley because it's super plentiful. It's cheap. It's hearty. You know, the flavor is distinct enough, but it's complementary to just about everything. So I use parsley as the bulk of it. I'm going to like touch back on that question in a second because I want to show you something. But let me get back to my pan because my corn and my okra is dancing around nicely. So I'm going to take it out of the pan now. I'm going to transfer it to a bowl. I'm going to show you what I have. So look, it took me, okay, I'm not going to lie. So Tara, who works with me at Foode, one of my chefs, she's the one who cut the corn and she's the one who cut the okra into ribbons. It took Tara probably 10 minutes to get, 5 or 6 ears of corn cut, and then it took her another 2 or 3 minutes just to put these okra into ribbons. And you can see that I've got like a serving size here that's good for maybe 4 people, and it's a great side dish. And all you have to do is I add now that it's out of that hot pan, I'm going to add a little bit of oil, and this is garlic oil, which is like when I roast garlic cloves, the oil that's left over. Add a little bit of garlic oil. And I like a little bit of acid, so I add a little bit of lemon juice. And I'll get back to that herb question now. I use parsley mainly, and then anything else I have, oregano, rosemary, thyme. And I always, you can see my lemons are like little naked, sad things because I scrape all of the zest off of them. And we toss those with our herbs. So every time we have a lemon, it's always naked because we go ahead and use the zest, and that adds a little bit of pop to our herbs. And then we mix those with our herbs so that when the heat hits the herbs and the heat hits the lemon zest, the oils activate, and that's what fires in your mouth, and that's delicious. And also, in parentheses, just happens to be vegan, right? So very hearty. The okra doesn't have that slimy texture. It's colorful, it's seasonal, it's cheap, it's the jam. That's good. So that's a great little side dish. I'm going to put this aside. And then I'm supposed to ask if anybody has any questions about okra yet. Making my mouth water, digging it. Okay. Yeah. And if anybody has any questions about okra, and if not, if you do, you can throw them in now. You can save them till later. It's all good. And
one
then,
of the questions, Joy, one of the questions is what brand of cast iron pan is that you use?
That's a Lodge. It's a Lodge cast iron pan. And like I said, that's a good one for cheaters like me because I can blast a bunch of things out and it's got a little bit of it's like pre-seasoned, right? So if you look at lodge.com or you just Google pre-seasoned cast iron pan, you're going to find a lot of really good ones. And it's tough to get a bad one now. As long as they're nice and heavy, you're good to go. And we use that one to death. And I happen to have an electric stove at home. I happen to have an electric stove at home. So I use that pan at work with a nice like gas burner. And then I also use it at home on a flat top, and it's completely fine. Okay. So let me see.
There are a lot
make
of questions
ribbons
there. Yep.
Yeah, I see that. Okay, do you have an okra dish at Foode right now? Yeah, right now we will for restaurant week. This coming week, beginning this weekend, we're gonna have a dish that's really similar to that. So it's not similar to that. It is that. It's corn. It's okra. We'll probably throw some other fresh vegetables in there and just make like a lovely, fresh, flavorful side dish. So yes, that's the answer to that. And then also because look, sometimes I go old school and traditional, and I cut them into rounds, and then we dredge them in cornmeal, and we deep fry them, and we've got deep fried okra. It's great, no problem at all. I just like to look for different ways that don't cloak the vegetable, that really let it stand out and shine. And so also right now we cut them into ribbons, which is another question. How do you cut them into ribbons? The best way, so I told you cut it like straight down the middle in half lengthwise, And then this half, you're just going to cut like that, just like julienne, like little strips, just like that. So you take the okra and cut it from tip to end after you cut the stem off, and then you just cut it in ribbons from there. And then how do I make the garlic oil? Somebody wants to know. Easy peasy. You take huge heads of garlic and you just cut them right in half, and then you can put them in any sort of like ceramic dish like this. And so let's just say I can fit like a whole bulb of garlic that I've cut in half, and I just cover that garlic in the papers and everything. Just leave it right in the papers, and you just cover it with olive oil, and then you put foil on the top, stick it in the oven, roast it at 350 degrees for like 35 minutes. And then when you pull it out, you let it cool, and you can squeeze that garlic and it comes out like peanut butter, like mush. It's wonderful. And then that's nectar, right? That lovely roasted garlic spread is fantastic. And the oil that it cooked in is garlic oil. So easy like that. Okay. So let me get off of okra and move on to chard real quick. So chard is another one which you can throw up that first slide just really quick for 10 seconds. So chard is a hardy green. It's a predominantly a winter green, meaning it grows all into the fall and winter. It's an autumn green, grows into the autumn. It's planted in the mid to late summer, and you can pull it depending on when you plant it. You can pull it. So we're getting some now, and you can come back to me now off that PowerPoint screen, because I can hit all those points. I like that PowerPoint screen so that I can remind myself what I said. It's kind of a cross between flavor-wise and texture-wise. It's kind of a cross between a beet and spinach, meaning it's got that minerally, earthy flavor that a beet has and that spinach has. The leaves respond really quickly to heat, so they're going to wilt like spinach leaves do. And then these stems, this is rainbow chard. I mean, it's beautiful. And I can when I was looking at it, I was like, yeah, I can see why you wouldn't really be like, oh, let me grab that and figure out what to do with it, because you're like, what do I do? Do I take half of it and put it in the trash? Like what happens? No, don't. So you just have to think of it the way it is, like it behaves the way you would think it would once I explain a little bit. So the leaves are a little delicate, and the stalks are hardy and fibrous, like celery. You know how celery has like the long strings in it, and you snap it in your mouth and like string comes out. That's kind of what you're dealing with here. So when you're cutting it, you want to cut it crosswise so that each one of those strands that's in there gets cut, right? So that you don't have a long strand to contend with. You've got these little pieces which your mouth can handle, and it's just a little bit more pleasant. So you want to treat the stems and the leaves differently, because they cook differently and they behave differently. And then B, these leaves these stems which are so colorful, they do leach out, and so you'll get like kind of a purpley liquid if you cook them, and sometimes people don't love that. So treat them separately. So what I do with this chard is I'm going to put this back here. Hang on a second. What I do is I cut it. Grab one for you. I just take it like this, and I pull it off. So now I've got the stem and I've got the leaves, and that's two different things, and I want to treat them two different ways. So the leaves, once again, I've cut up into, nope, I didn't do it. Tara did it. She cut it up into nice little beautiful shredded ribbons. And it's not my favorite to eat raw. You can fold it into salad greens, or you could fold it into maybe like cooked beans, and so that'll break down just a tiny little bit. But it's a little, almost like chalky kind of. I don't know. It's just not my favorite mouthfeel. But if you use it in a small amount, if you mix all of this with a lot of other lettuces, then it will add a different texture and a little bit of color and a little bit of like earthy flavor. So that can be pleasant. So we've got that, and then I've got the stems, which are cut up, and look how colorful they are. I mean, they're just like, they're so pretty. And so we're gonna make sauteed chard and stems because I don't like to waste. Oh, and you can see, if I'm looking at this, you can see how that looks like celery, you know, like it looks exactly like celery. So you can see that, like, no, fibrous part. Okay, so I've got my heat on back here. Again, non-stick pan makes me look better than I am. And I'm gonna throw a little bit of olive oil in the pan, right? And a little bit of onion. And I'll throw some of the stems in. And I'm gonna let that cook for a few minutes, just to start to break it down, because once I add the greens themselves, the cooking time is really quick. So I want to get a little bit of heat on this first, just to kind of get it started. And I'm talking like just a couple minutes. So I do that. And then once that's been cooking for, you know, 3 or 4 minutes, I'm going to add a nice little handful of the chard there. And it contains a lot of water in the leaves. So it's going to break down. It's going to behave like spinach does. Right? I'm going to season it with a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. I'm going to add a hair more olive oil. Not too much, just a little bit. I'm going to let that go. You can see. And there you can see like all those beautiful colors. So while that's cooking and breaking down a little bit, I also can tell you that you'll have like this monstrous amount of stems to leaf ratio, right? Because just like spinach, you know how when you cook like a huge batch of spinach and then it cooks down to nothing, same thing, that's going to dissipate because it contains so much water. And then you're gonna have all these stems that I would love if you didn't throw away. So what Tara did was she cut some of the stems like I showed you before, but instead of putting it in our saute pan, we're just gonna, I just pickled them. And now these will last in the back of your refrigerator for a long time. And our pickle is really simple. It's typically red wine vinegar, a little bit of sugar, and then we throw, excuse me, we throw in some nice spices like bay leaf and peppercorn and red pepper flakes and garlic and star anise and, you know, things that are lovely and aromatic and kind of have like a lasting, lingering flavor profile. We boil that and make a little pickling liquid. Now these stems can live in this pickling liquid until you're ready to use them. And then, so this is still cooking, just firing that off. And now I can take some of these stems and I'm gonna show you really quickly. I take these stems, I've got them in my bowl right here. I'm adding a little bit of herbs. And I have a little bit of olive oil. And I'm gonna stir it. And you can see now I've got this amazingly beautiful, bright, colorful little garnish that I can just put on top of, I don't know, a grilled piece of steak or chicken that needs something, you know, bright and crunchy. Maybe if you've got some fresh summer tomatoes, you just spoon this over the top. And we're actually going to use it as a garnish on this plate too. I always find that if you are, excuse me, if you're cooking and you're able to mix and match a couple different styles of cooking on the same plate, even if you're using one ingredient or two ingredients like I am here, I've just got onions and chard, but I've got a saute on that. I've got a little pickle. And what's going to end up happening is you're going to be mixing something that's like really flavorful and savory with something that's bright and cold and crisp and pickly and briny. And that's going to end up hitting all of the notes that you need to hit in your meal, and you're going to end up being satisfied. So I'm going to take this guy. So I would normally, if I'm going to just use this as my side dish with nothing else, I would probably hit it with a little bit of acid to brighten it up, like some lemon juice or some vinegar, just to brighten it up. But I don't need to, because I'm gonna put my pickled stems on top. So I'm gonna transfer this to the plate. I'll show you in a second. I transfer that to the plate, and you can see how gorgeous it is. And then I'm going to take my wonderful pickle. I'm going to put that right on top. It's super bright and lovely. I did some, I got some toasted pumpkin seeds. That's going to give it some really like different depth and crunch. Those are just toasted pumpkin seeds. You could use pecans, you can use shaved almonds. Still lovely and vegan. You could take a little hard cheese like pecorino or Asiago and grate fresh cheese on top. And again, you've got like a very simple but flavorful, hearty vegetarian meal. And I literally made it from raw to finished in 5 minutes with Secret Tara's help. So that's that. Questions about Chard? Any? Let me see. My question, now what do we do with it? Terry planted okra in our yard this year and he harvested our first okra today. My question was, now I know. Okay, good. What were those the pickled stems that you added oil and herbs to, or fresh? I added, those were the pickled stems. So what I was saying is, when you're using Chard, you're gonna end up with a copious amount of stems, and you're gonna be like, what am I gonna do with these? Don't worry about it. Use your leaves now when you're cooking that day, so they don't spoil, or that week or whatever, when you've got your groceries. But hang on to your stems, and then even if your stems are kicking it in the refrigerator for 10, 12 days and they start to like get a little soft and they don't look as lovely, that's okay. Just pickle them and hold on to them. Stick them in the back of your fridge, because this is going to be a condiment, and you're going to end up putting it on pasta. You're going to end up putting it on, salads. Like I said, grilled meats as they come off the grill. It's fantastic. So I added the herbs and the olive oil to the pickled, stems. And it's crazy how beautiful it is. Just like that's one vegetable, and that's one bunch, and it's just like, it looks like 10 things going on. So any questions about that? No? Okay, cool. So our last little guy is, you should see, never mind, I'm not going to show you. It's crazy town back there. You should
Joy,
see
there
my
was
crazy
one,
kitchen.
Joy, there was
Yeah, go
one
ahead.
more question about here in the chat box. How long do you roast the garlic?
Oh, okay. So roasted garlic at home in your oven, 350 degrees, 35 minutes. You just want that, you want the garlic cloves to be completely and totally tender. They get like sweet and spreadable, like butter, or like peanut butter is the best texture to think of. So whatever that is, you can just take a little toothpick and sort of poke it in there. But it's about 30-35 minutes usually at home, as long as you roast it covered up and in that oil. And like I said, I don't know if you can see, I'm going to try and make you see, if you can see, there's like little bits of, yummy garlic just yum, yum in there. And that just, it smells so good. All right. So that's that. Okay. Can you cook Swiss chard like you fix collard greens? Yes, you can, except for, so let me answer it this way. I grew up eating collard greens that were cooked really slow, right? Those are like, they're hearty greens. The leaves are really tough. They're fibrous, and you need to break them down. And so oftentimes we would cook them for an extended period of time, and we're going to add something to it like vinegar, is going to like break it down and make it tender in your mouth. You don't need to, now when I cook collards or kale, we cut them and we shift them so fine and delicate, like I was saying with the stems of the chard, or like stems of stalks of celery. We're taking those fibers and we're cutting them like on a cross section. So we're breaking them down with our knife essentially. So when you come in the restaurant and you order sauteed kale or sauteed collard greens, I'm taking them from raw like this and throwing them in the pan. And you know, then it's oil and it's lemon and it's a little wine and some onion and some vinegar. And that's how we make them like all yummy and sexy at the restaurant. So to answer that question, you don't have to long cook them like you would normally long cook a heartier green like a collard green or a kale. They're so full of water, they're going to behave more like a spinach, which is like touch the pan, wilt, it doesn't stand a chance, right? So that's kind of how these are. That's why people kind of consider it a cross between a beet and spinach. Hopefully that answers that question. And what can you use the garlic paste for? So, you know, white pizza. Okay, so like you have pizza crust and then you spread that garlic paste on it, and you know, put some cheese on top and some fresh tomatoes. That's great. You can take it and just smear it on bread, and excuse me, smear it on bread, and put, you know, cheese on it, stick it in the oven. You have garlic toast. A lot of people just take it and they just put it into a little container, like, you know, you'll squeeze. So you're gonna yield. It's like I don't know. It's like gold. So you're gonna yield out of, you know, 2 or 3 big bulbs, you're going to yield like half of this, right? Full of garlic paste. And then they just take that and they stick it in the back of the refrigerator, so that when they're making a little bit of soup, boop, they throw a little garlic in it. When they're making a little bit of spaghetti sauce, bam, they throw it in there. You know, if they're making potatoes on Saturday morning, you know, with eggs and sausage, they'll go ahead and throw some garlic in there, so you can have like some home fries. So it's like, you could use it in lieu of butter, and it's got much more flavor, but it's not like, hi, don't come near me, you've clearly had garlic. It's not like that. It's like, it's very mild and nutty, and it's bananas. It's good. Okay. All right, so that's that. Okay, so last but not least, sweet potato. Awesome. Let me see. Okay, so we roasted off the sweet potato, and I want you to see how easy it is. So sweet potatoes are, I mean, they're just like potatoes in their versatility, right? You can do anything with them. You can mash them, you can roast them, you can, you know, fry them, you can cut them into ribbons, you can cut them into medallions and put sugar on it. Like, you can do anything with them. I'm a little bit lazy, so roasting them whole in the skins, that's my jam right there. So now that they're roasted and cooled, I can peel the skin off just like paper, and you can see, the reason why I wanted to do that is so you can see how the flesh is like so dark and brown. It's because it is so full of sugar that roasting has like caramelized it, and now this thing is candy. And it's great. But to me, it's as delicious as it is, and I think it is delicious, it's kind of like one note. It's sweet, you know? And that's why I think most people, my theory is that's why most people will pair it with like cinnamon and nutmeg and ginger and, you know, cardamom and everything, because you want to give it some complexity. You want to give it some layers, some depth, because it's sweet, you know, it's like honey. It's like honey's great, but it's just honey. So sweet potato is that too. So any opportunity that I can see to make a sweet potato into a savory dish, or to push the savory part of it forward, I think is where it gets really interesting. And so this one that we're making is a sweet potato dip. And if you want to throw up, I think it might be the last slide. And you can just, you know, just keep it up for 10 seconds or so. Basically, what we do is, let me see, I'm trying to see if that's what it is too. Bang, 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 bang. So, sweet potatoes and okay, cool. Yeah, that's the last one. Yep, perfect. Okay, so you roast them in their skin. That's gonna that keeps their it's like a little jacket, and so it steams it as it's cooking. So your sweet potatoes stay tender. They're not gonna have like hard, crispy parts. And then okay, you can lose a slide now. And then because it's roasting, which is that long, sort of slow, dry cooking, all the sugars will concentrate in there. So now I've got really sweet now I've got really sweet concentrated sugars. And so what I did was I peeled them off of here, and I put them in a bowl. And I put on that slide, like, put them in the food processor. Dude, you do not have to put them in the food processor. All I did was I used my gloved hands, and you can use, or a spoon, and you can just mash it. And it's like, it's, I don't know, I think it's perfect. Do you have like little pieces of sweet potato in there? Yeah, but that's awesome. Okay, so I've got my sweet potato, and to that, I'm gonna add a little bit of roasted red pepper, a little bit of chopped tomato, a little bit of jalapeno, all right, a little bit of red onion. Thank you, Tara. I'm gonna add a little bit of olive oil and a little bit of cilantro. Oh, and lemon. I forgot, so we need some acid. So what we've done is we've taken that super sweet sweet potato, and we balance it out with all the other things that are gonna round out the experience in your mouth. So we've got, so that's like, it's baby food soft, right? So we're gonna take the crunch of raw onion, we're gonna take the heat from the jalapeno, we take the acid from the lemon, we take that really distinct cilantro flavor, and all that gets mixed together. And now I've got sweet potato dip, and it's so freaking good. I'm telling you. I'm gonna put it in a bowl here. It's so good. When we first opened Foodie, which was like 10 years ago, for some reason I was obsessed with it. And so we had it on our menu all the time. And I don't know, like, you know, your obsessions change. And so you come and go. And so I haven't had it on the menu in a while, but I want to show you. There. And you just serve it with like crispy corn tortilla chips. Let me see here. Hang on a second. Boom. Yeah, you just serve it with corn tortilla chips, and you can see it's like, it's just like, it's not guacamole. It's so interesting and so different, and it's such an easy pickup, and an easy pickup, like you're doing that at home. But it's like, it's easy because you throw the sweet potatoes in the oven, and that's 90% of the work, and the rest is just a little bit of choppy dicey, and then you've got something that's akin to like those profiles that you're used to with salsa or with guacamole, texturally and flavor wise, but it's completely different. And that's it. So those are my things. Those are my 3 different ways around vegetables or produce that you can get that sometimes makes you go, okay, I'm tired of doing the same thing with it, or they're plentiful right now and they're super cheap. What do I do? Or how can I get a creative spin on that or not be intimidated by it? Those are just 3 little ways. And I welcome the opportunity to share even more with you if you have any questions. So please let them fly. There's beer in here. Okay. Anything?
There was one question,
Sure.
Joy, that
Let's see. Okay.
From someone about the slide deck, but Rich already answered that. We will post the slide deck on Facebook and Instagram.
So yeah, here's the deal. I mean, I really will respond to anybody who hits me up. The slide deck is, I mean, we were talking before the presentation, like, do we even need it? Not really. It was just a way for me to sort of remember what I wanted to point out. If you want the actual recipes, that's the money right there. So just ask me for the recipes, and I'll send them to you. It's just joy@foodieonline.com. joy@foodie, Foode online.com. Just hit me up and say, you know, hey, can I get that recipe for chard or sweet potato dip? Or I could probably, like, maybe it's smarter for me to post them. I'll figure it out. Anyway, ask me, or I'll try and post them to our Facebook page too. I can do that. That's easy. Yeah, that's what I'll do. That's what I'll do. Yeah. See how smart I get when I keep talking? Veggies, ingredients, and combos. Oh, and guess what? So every single one of those things, just coincidentally, is vegan. It's just, it is. Except for if we were to take, so 2 things. If we were to take a little like cheese and put that on top of the chard, then not vegan, obviously. And sometimes because our brains, when we hear sweet potato, we want sweet, right? So sometimes I will bend it a little, you know, after I've made it savory, I'll bend it back a little bit more towards the sweet by adding a little tiny bit of honey. And so then that's not vegan, but you can add sorghum, you know, and stay vegan. So yeah, vegan all the way across the board. There you go. That's cool. I wasn't thinking about that. That's it.
Vegan Chardonnay.
Perfect. Yeah. All right. Well, Richard, what do you got? Anybody have anything? Anybody need any more from me? What do you think?
Thank
Oh,
you.
wait. Do you need to put knife or fork marks in the sweet potatoes? Nope. You just need to put them down on a sheet pan, on a cookie sheet or whatever, with like aluminum foil or something. You'll just be bummed out if you don't put aluminum foil, because like the sugar will come out and it's like tar. It's just gonna cook and cook and cook in the oven. You won't be able to like pull the thing off the pan. So just make sure you put a piece of parchment ideally, but if you don't have that, just a piece of aluminum foil on the pan when you're roasting off the sweet potatoes, and you should be golden. What other herb can you use besides cilantro? You know, I was going to say rosemary, but rosemary raw is not amazing because it's so tough. I would say parsley. Just use parsley. Look, it's your thing, so do whatever you want. I mean, use whatever you want, but you want to use something tender, right? You don't want to use like thyme, which is like very, very hearty in your mouth, or like I said, rosemary. You want to go with something a little bit more delicate, because it's a nice, like pleasant, soft feel that you're looking for in your mouth, I think. Yeah, but cilantro also, that's another hit or miss thing, so I get it. Yeah, that's it. Good. Richard, we cool?
Love it. Thank you. Now I'm hungry.
Right on. Right on. Me too. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming in and you know, joining me in my itty bitty teeny weeny yellow polka dot kitchen. And thank you for always inviting me to take part, because I love it, and I love all the veg, and I love everything that y'all are doing for the community. So thank you very much, and I will put all this stuff up on my Facebook page. I promise. Yeah.
Thank you. Night.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Take it easy.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you. See you next year at St. George's.